Welcome to the Edified Equity Podcast. My name is Dino, and here we talk about all the benefits associated with being a passive equity partner in an apartment syndication. You can learn more about us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and our award-winning blog on Bigger Pockets. I will have all of the associated links in the show notes. So today on episode 38, I have with me Greg Dickerson, who is an entrepreneur. I'm super excited. We've been going back and forth trying to sync up schedules. I had gotten sick, but I'm back to health now, and so I'm happy to have him here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Greg, and then I'm going to let him take it away, and then we'll jump in because today we are ready to hang 10. So Greg is an entrepreneur, real estate investor, and developer for the past 20 years. And he has bought and developed over 200 million in real estate. He started 12 different companies from the ground up. So as you can tell, I'm honored and excited that he would come on to the podcast. So Greg, I know that was a brief intro, but do you have anything else you want to expand before we get going?
No, that was great. I'm glad you're feeling better, and thanks for having me today. And no, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I mean, it's a 21-year career. Started out as a remodeling contractor / handyman guy. Did $250,000 my first year, and that was 1997, 98, and built a building company in the area that I was in. We were one of the largest builders in a 7-year period after I started building, and grew that into a $30 million company and sold it, and got into real estate development, and have been doing that ever since. And so yeah, I've done a lot of different things. The different companies mostly were related to the construction industry that I started along the way with people that would come to me for help in their business or wanted to start a business. And, it's just a fancy way of saying adult ADD, I think, at the end of the day. Right. I like to stay busy. I like to do a lot of things.
I understand. I'm the same.
And I love to help people. So that's where it all kind of came from.
Yeah. I think if you put that first, always, I mean, there's several personal development leaders, several successful people, and they say the same thing. If you put helping others, if you help enough people get what they want, you're ultimately going to get what you want as well in return, and you're going to feel good in the process.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of fun. It's I get more excitement out of watching people grow, helping them find and unlock their full potential and reach their full potential. I get more of a kick out of that than anything else. The money's great, the deals are great, but watching people thrive and succeed and grow and live the God-given purpose that they've been put on this earth to do, that's what's fun.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Okay, so let's get ready to hang 10. Now, a little bit of backstory, because this is a new series. So when I was in the military, I did 4 years in the Navy, and I was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia. And anyway, I picked up a sister, actually, it's not the sister sport, it's actually the father sport. I grew up, I was skateboarding, I was thrashing. I really enjoyed skateboarding and half pipes, launch ramps, street, you name it. When I was in the service, one of the guys that I served with, he from Florida, I'm from Louisiana. We took up surfing, and I absolutely loved it. It was a combination of nature, being athletic. It just calmed you. It took you to a place, I don't know, when I'm on a board riding a wave, it's like that's all that's happening. Nothing else matters. And it was almost a form of meditation and exercise. And I'm, again, from Louisiana, so I'm from the water. So I just fell in love with it. So as a play on my passion for surfing, I developed the Hang 10 series with Dino. So Greg is on today to hang 10 with me. And before I say, Greg, are you ready to hang 10? We actually have a few surfing places in common because of where he's located.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, so I'm from the Virginia Beach, Virginia area, Norfolk, Virginia area. And then I went in the military right out of high school, and I was stationed in California. So Long Beach, California. So I surfed all up and down the California coast, grew up surfing in Florida, Virginia, and then I was on the Outer Banks of North Carolina for 14 years from 97 to 2011. And that's, the Hawaii of the East Coast. That's the biggest and best surf you can find on the East Coast. So that's why I moved there. That's why I lived there. So yeah, lifelong surfer.
Yeah. So, and that's where I picked it up in Virginia Beach, but one of our favorite places to travel to was Pea Island. So we would drive down to North Carolina. Okay. So you ready to hang 10?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. All right, so first question is, What or when was your aha moment that drove you towards real estate?
So when I started my business on the Outer Banks, I was working for some guys that were renovating houses and selling them. Down there, they were all resort rentals, big resort rental beach houses. And, they were buying them, putting, ground floors in, pools, hot tubs, elevators, things like that. I mean, they put 100, 150,000 in these houses. They buy them for 500, put 100, 150 in them and sell them for 900 to $1 million.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. And, so I was kind of asking them questions, learning from them. And then a friend of mine who was a realtor came to me and said, "Hey, I know of this lot for sale that we can buy, and I think we can sell it and make like a $30,000 profit, overnight." And I'm like, "Can you do that?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely." So he said, "Look, you put up the money, I'll do everything else. I've got the buyer, and we'll flip this thing and we'll split the profit." So I put up the money. I don't even remember. It might have been a $100,000 lot. And we sold it like 30 days later for 125, 130,000. I put up all the money. He did all the work. We split the profit. And I had no idea that you could do that. And this was, I was on my third house by this time. So I'd owned year-round houses. I just didn't know that you could speculate like that or flip property like that. It just didn't occur to me. And, back then there wasn't a whole lot of real estate education out there because the internet wasn't even a thing really at the time and all that. So I'd read some stuff from Russ Whitney and I'd seen some Carlton Sheet stuff, but I thought that was all, scam stuff, right? I had no idea. So anyways, that was the first deal I ever did. It was a lot flip. I split the profit with a buddy, made about 15 grand, and I was off to the races after that.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. That would make me want to get into it as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, if you could go back and have a discussion with your younger self, what age would you be? What would you say and why?
So I would probably have intervened with myself right after I got out of the Navy. So I went in the Navy right out of high school, and I had a background in construction and restaurants. It's the only 2 things I'd ever done. I was working in restaurants when a guy who was doing an addition on the restaurant hired me to clean up after him, and that's how I kind of started learning construction. And I'm a hard worker, and so he hired me, and I followed him around. So when I got out of the Navy, I stayed in California for a little while, and I was young, and I liked to travel. That was one of the reasons I joined the military, was not only to serve, but you can travel a lot in the Navy. As you know, you get to see a lot of different places. You get paid to be on a cruise, right? So that was a lot of fun. So anyways, going back to that time, knowing what I wanted to do with my life, I always wanted to be a builder, always wanted my own company. And I would have told myself, go to work for one of the most successful developers you can find and learn from them, even if you got to do it for free. That's what I would have done if I'd have known back then what I know now. I would have went to work for a very successful developer because I like to build things. I like to develop. I've always wanted to do a skyscraper. Now, I don't know how you define that, but something at least 20 stories or more is kind of one of my goals in life. And I'm getting close to that. So I would have gone to work for somebody who was doing that kind of stuff, worked for them for free if I had to learn everything I could about the business. And then I would have taken it from there.
Great. I love it because I would have had a similar conversation with myself, which basically would be bypass single family, bypass private money lending, bypass wholesaling properties when you have too much going on. So, and just get right into syndicating apartment communities. So a little bit different, but a very similar conversation. And I think a lot of people that I bring on or that I listen to in other podcasts say the same thing. They say, I would have said start earlier, but our journey is our journey and there's nothing we could do about it. And it made us who we are today.
Well, all you know is what you know. And, I learned it from the ground up the hard way. I was in a small area on the Outer Banks, so all I knew was what was going on there and what was working there. So that was what I was kind of limited to. And then as I started working with and meeting other developers from other areas, I started to learn and grow. So, I think I've done okay considering where I was and where I came from and the limited knowledge I had. And then as I gained the knowledge, I started putting to work and using it, and I'm really using it now. And, hopefully this year, I've got about $100 million worth of projects in the development pipeline. So, awesome. I should be able to really ramp it up from here. I'm 51 now. But, I'm in a college town, University of Virginia, Charlottesville. We have Darden School of Business, one of the MBA programs in the country. And I talk to a lot of young MBA students that will come in and ask me for advice. And I tell them what I just told you. Find whoever it is that is the best in the business at what you want to do. Go work for them, learn from them, even if you have to do it for free. And I would argue, even if you have to pay them, if they're that good and they're who you want to be one day, if you got to pay them, pay them. and do whatever you have to do to go to work for them and learn from them. Because it's not only what you're going to learn, it's the contacts you're going to make, it's the resources you're going to gather along the way. So there's a lot more than just the knowledge and the education. It's the network, it's the resources, it's the confidence, it's everything. So that's what I tell young people today coming out of college with graduate degrees that are headed into the workforce.
Yeah, I agree. And people pay for internships all the time. So it makes sense. It's really no difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, number 3. What or who has been the most influential person in your life and career?
I don't have any one person, so I've never had a formal mentor, but I've learned from a number of people over the years, and I've had a number of people that have made an impact on me in different ways in different areas. Early in my career when I was working in construction, one of the guys I was working for, he had his own business, and he was just really influential to me because he just had his own little company and he was doing his own thing. So I learned from him that I could be self-employed, I could create my own future. I've had different individuals along the way that I've taken wisdom from. I have good friends now that are good influences in my life that I look up to that are a lot smarter than me. It's really, there is no one person. I have a couple of really good close friends now that are very impactful in my life and that I do a lot of things with. But it's a culmination of a lot of different people. I just don't have that one individual that I can say, hey, that person really made a difference in my life.
I understand. It's difficult to pinpoint.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different ways. So you have the business standpoint, then you have faith and family. And I'd say probably my spiritual mentor that I met on the Outer Banks in '97, who helped me really cultivate my faith journey, was probably the most influential overall from a person, as a father, a husband, a dad, and the business as well. That was one individual that made a big difference. But from a business perspective, it's been a lot of different people.
Okay, certainly. Number 4, what has been the most instrumental tool that you use in your business today?
So just technology in general. So I'm outsourced. I work from home. I manage teams in different areas, all up and down the Eastern region and down into North Carolina. So, I leverage technology to my fullest advantage. So all of my documents are online. Everything's in the cloud. I can do 90% of what I do from my phone. I use a Mac system, so everything kind of crosses over and works out really well. So there's not really one specific thing, because what I do bigger deals and I do less of them. So it's not like a huge thing that I need to manage. Right. I have architects, engineers, general contractors, realtors, all working for me in the different areas on different projects I'm doing. Like I've got a hotel project I'm working on right now. It's probably a $25 million project that we're working on the entitlements and getting it out of the ground and things like that. So, and some multifamily ground up deals and renovation. So they're big projects with big teams. So they have all the day-to-day stuff. But what I do is I keep track of everybody through, online document management systems like Dropbox, the iCloud, things like that. So just technology in general. I really embrace it, use it, leverage it, and I outsource everything and I use the talents of others. So my system is finding professionals that are the best at what they do and letting them do their thing and managing and leading them and coaching them. Yeah,
I like it. And that's big. It's probably why you are where you are today, because a lot of people, and I've been guilty of, being a solopreneur and a lone wolf. But it's like when you get to some things, I know for you, it's development. For me, it's multifamily syndication. I also run another business. I'm also a very hands-on father of 3 little kids. So I really have like 3 full-time businesses going on at all times. I need to be able to source things out to people who are really good at what they do, so that as a team, we can all be successful.
Exactly. And, I just have no backlog in my life. I mean, I take care of things as they come in. I keep up with everything on a daily basis. So I never have backlog. I'm never behind. I never have to play catch up. That's
great. Yeah, that is a great skill, because it comes at us so fast. If you can stay on top of it and not get off, that is a really a great quality and skill to have. Okay, number 5. What is the best, the most influential book? Now, this can include audio, podcasts, movies, documentaries, that has helped you throughout your life and real estate business.
Well, there's so many, but obviously the first one, and a lot of people say it, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that, and that opened my mind to having a business that provided cash flow to do other things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I took away from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It is a real estate investing book, but I looked at it more of an entrepreneurial type book where, hey, have a business, be a business owner, and leverage other people's assets like we just talked about. Have a business that runs on its own. Now, when I say that, I don't mean you don't have to be there, you don't have to pay attention. I just mean it operates day to day without you being involved in the daily operations, but you still got to watch and pay attention and know what's going on and lead that organization. So anyways, I read that. Then I read The Power of Positive Thinking, Norman Vincent Peale, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, and then a number of books, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, so all the greats, right? So yeah. I'm a constant learner. My iPhone back in the day, it was, it was the cassettes, Walkman, and then it was the CD Walkman, and then it was iPod. I've never had music. It's always been books on tape. So I'm constantly pouring into myself, listening to a number of things, but those are probably the foundation. And then from a management system standpoint, the 1 Minute Manager was the most impactful management system and philosophy that I've ever used that helped me succeed, helped me grow my companies as fast as I grew them. But all of those things together, kind of are what made me what I am. Managing by Harold Janine, that's a great book. He was the CEO of ITT, multi-conglomerate, one of the first multi-international conglomerates, and all about how to run integrated multiple organizations all at one time, things like that. So, there's a lot of great stuff out there, and I read books all the time now. I'm constantly reading and pouring into myself. And again, I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to books on tape. I've got satellite radio for my wife. I don't ever listen to anything but educational and professional development stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're almost identical in that aspect, because I told you before we started recording, I'm from Louisiana. I'm in New Orleans, Louisiana. Right behind me is Canal Street. So obviously being Cajun French from Louisiana, music has been a big part of our culture, history, our heritage, and our lives. But honestly, I can't remember the last time I was in my vehicle and listened to a song, unless it was a children's song because I had my kids with me. But when it's me, I have a podcast or an audiobook in my ear, and it's like Dashboard University. There's no better way. If I'm not on the phone, I'm listening, and I'm growing constantly. Yeah. And I had the same talk too when I bought. Let's say 4 or 5 years ago, moved to Colorado, had no choice because of where we live. Like, you have to have 4-wheel drive. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, was getting calls for like the first 6 months, like, but you get 6 months free with Sirius. Why don't you give it a try? I'm like, I'm telling you, because I'm just going to have to go and cancel it. I don't listen to music. Yeah. And finally, it went away, and I was nice to them. I just kept saying the same thing. I listen to podcasts or audiobooks. I don't listen to music.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. Like I said, it's other people and other environments, but when I'm in my car alone, it's educational, inspirational, personal development. That's what I use that time for.
All right, let's move on. Number 6. So what daily habits or rituals do you perform that help you stay focused and successful? Because you have done a ton, and you're still going, and you're still very young. So I know you're like, I still have a good another 30, 40 years of this in me. So what kind of habits and rituals do you do daily?
Yeah, so I'm just very self-motivated, always have been, a natural born entrepreneur. So I've never needed anything to keep me on track. I just get up and go. That's just what I do. I have a lot of drive. I like to do a lot of things. I like to help people stay busy. But now my day, I get up, I read some stuff from the Bible and pray and spend some time with God. I drink my coffee, while I'm waking up, and and then I'm off and running. So it's 30 minutes in the morning to get myself ready. And then I just start rolling. And like I said, I take care of everything as it comes. So I never really need anything or anybody to push me. I deal with stuff as it comes in. I'm constantly, I never have backlog. I'm on top of everything. And I enjoy what I do. I love what I do. What I'm doing now is focused on more bigger projects, which I should have done a long time ago. But now at this point in my life, I'm at a point with knowledge, wisdom, education, experience, and resources to do the bigger deals. Yeah. So that's really what I'm after now, is just fewer, bigger deals. And I'm really trying to ramp it up from that standpoint, because it's a lot of fun. I love building. I love developing. I love doing things like that, and leading teams. And like I said, I want to build a 20+ story building. That's one of my goals.
Yeah.
So I'm on my path for that this year, and hopefully I'll have one coming out of the ground here in the next year or two. They take a little while to get going, as you know. The bigger they are, the more time they can take to get out of the ground. But that's just me. I'm just motivated. I like to do things. I like to make things happen. I'm the guy that you got to be real careful. A lot of people will say, hey, share your ideas with others. It helps you hold you accountable, right? If there's something you want to do or a goal, write it down and tell people about it so that, so I'm the guy that if you tell me you have a goal, it's like, well, let's go, let's do it.
Yeah.
And, I don't like to talk about it. I don't like to think about it. I'm like, if you tell me you want to do something, well, I'm grabbing you by the arm. Let's go. And we're doing it. So, that's just kind of how I'm wired. So I really don't need something to keep me, going day to day just to stay on track. I just do what I do.
Yeah. I love it. Well, that's definitely what has helped you be, where you are today and where you're going. And it sounds like to me, and I'm very similar. I've grown enough to realize that it's actually enjoying the journey. So just like you for right now, at least the 20-story development, I would venture to say that when that happens, you're not going to turn around and say, I'm done. I did everything I wanted to do. There's going to be something else that you'll be chasing. You'll celebrate for a few moments and be like, I did that finally. But then it's like, okay, now what? Because that's what really, it's almost like you hear people planning these like lavish vacations, and then they come back and they will say like, it was almost more fun like dreaming about it and planning it than actually going there. So I think enjoying the journey and being big enough to say like, this is what excites me. It's like getting there, getting to the thing is really what it's about.
Yeah. And you got to be careful. There's a fine line. So you got to take it in. So when you're doing something that you've worked hard for and you're trying to make it happen and you finally get there, you got to spend a little time and take it in, and you got to have balance because, when is enough, right? So for me, it's more, I just like staying busy. I like doing things. I can do what I do for the rest of my life. So I never have to really retire. I mean, I can do deals forever because I'm not the one literally in the field doing it. I'm the brain trust, right? I'm the visionary and the leader and the delegator and the motivator of the teams that are actually making it happen. So I can continue to do what I do. Mm-hmm. And you got to be careful because you can get to a point where you're never satisfied with anything. Yeah. So you have to be satisfied with your accomplishments without letting it go to your head, without getting overly obsessed, and without ever being able to be satisfied. So it's it's a really interesting thing. So I've been very fortunate to be able to be satisfied with what I've done, to be able to enjoy the successes that I've had, but at the same time to realize that it's all relative. All I know is what I know. You compare what I've done to, a Donald Trump or a Sam Zell or any number of people, and it's nothing, right? So they've done one deal that's bigger than anything I'll do in my entire life, right? So, there's guys that are billions of dollars out there and hundreds of millions of dollars out there, and I've done that over a 20-year period. So for me, coming from where I came from, it's great. Mm. But thank goodness I've learned from all of those years to where I can really fast track things now and really focus on the things that I want to do now, not the things that I had to do back then.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That's great wisdom to share with the people listening today. Moving on to 7. So we're hanging 10. We're getting close to the finish line here. What is the best piece of advice that you would give to someone just starting out as a real estate investor? And if you want to take a spin on it to say, well, I'm a real estate developer now, so I'll talk to that person, it's totally fine.
Yeah. So, whatever it is, real estate developer, whatever somebody wants to be, again, my best advice is find the best in the business at what it is you want to do and go work for them and learn from them. Yeah. That would be my best advice, and learn that business, whatever it is you want to do. Go learn for that individual, work for them. You will shorten your learning curve or your career path. The other way to do it would be to find a mentor. If you're not going to work for somebody, if you just want to go out on your own, get a mentor that's doing what it is you want to do, that is where you want to be. Mm-hmm. They will shorten the learning curve. They'll get you there 10 times faster. So that would be my best piece of advice, other than the obvious, which is educate yourself. You got to know whatever it is you want to do. You got to know it, become an expert, learn it, live it, breathe it, everything. Know the numbers, know the market, know everything there is to know about the business you want to be in, whatever it is, whether it's real estate investing or anything else.
Yeah, agree 100%. That's great advice. And I'm glad you said that again, because that's exactly how I got my start in apartment syndication. Because going from, even fix and flips. I was more of the architecture, bringing the deal, lending a little bit of money. I was not operating a crew. I didn't have that skill. But I was getting involved. And then when I transitioned to a syndication, it's exactly what I did. I partnered and said, I'm going to bring value to your existing operation by doing X. And I don't care. The last thing I'm worried about, and the last question you ever hear me say is, when do we get paid? How much do I get paid? It was vice versa. I'm getting paid through the experience.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people forget you have to make a deal happen before anybody gets paid. So forget what your share is. Now, that's important. You got to have those things at the correct time. But initially, it's all about, what do you have to offer? What can you bring to the table, especially from real estate developers' perspective? So I see on like Bigger Pockets, other things, and people reaching out saying, hey, I want to wholesale this land to a developer. How do I need to do it? I say, well, developers are pretty sophisticated. You're not going to wholesale a piece of development land to somebody unless it's something very unique that nobody else knows about, but it's usually something that's been on the market for a while, or, somebody can't sell it and they say, hey, I got this great deal. I'm going to go find a developer and do this. It doesn't work that way. All they're thinking about is, I want to make a quick buck, instead of thinking about how can I bring value to an individual or an organization, like you just said. So when you put it in that perspective first, how can I serve others? Then, everything, the doors will start to open. If you try to create value, find value, bring value to others, everything else will take care of itself. Now, you do have to iron out specific details in writing, who and how the structure of the profits are going to lay out. That's a very important detail, but that's after you bring some value to the table.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the one individual I'm thinking of right now, that's how I started. We're currently working on our 4th syndication together, so it takes you a long way. And once you show that you can add value to the team, they will welcome you. Or in your situation, ultimately one day they'll allow you to go it alone. But great piece of advice there. Number 8. So what is one thing you would have done differently when you first started real estate investing?
I would have started out in the development world, in the big deal world, and just started from there and went from there instead of, starting the way I started. Again, I was where I was, and the projects and the things I was doing were, that's just all there was. We were building big beach houses and doing some small commercial deals. But knowing what I know now, I would have started with a big commercial outfit, development outfit, and just hit the ground running.
Got it. Okay. Number 9, if you had to choose one, I like this question. I like to see how people respond. If you had to choose one, would it be to have 1 million liquid today, or travel back in time, being able to take all the knowledge and wisdom that you have and start over? And why would you obviously choose your answer?
So that is an interesting question. So let's put some more zeros on it,
Okay.
right? So for me and for other people, let's frame it in the question of $100 million.
Okay.
Because then it becomes more relevant, because million's easy, right? So 100 million. Would I take 100 million today, liquid, or go back knowing what I know now and do it all over? I'd go back, because I could be a billionaire knowing what I know now, starting over with my whole career and being able to go to work for somebody who was a billionaire developer. So that would be worth a lot more to me in the long run. So yeah.
And there it is. It goes back to the journey. I mean, because some people would say, well, okay, 100 million liquid, and I still get to keep all my knowledge and wisdom and be still only 51. I'm like, wow, that's so much more I can do. But instead, give that away, take the knowledge and wisdom and go back in time. It's like, that would be better. So obviously you're enjoying the process. You're not living day to day in misery. You're saying, this is fun. I like this. I'm challenged.
Well, and you say, know what I know now. So there were some incredible market conditions that you could really take advantage of back then that we're never going to see again, right?
Okay.
So you gotta keep that in perspective. That's why I say that, because,
That's true.
the easy credit and all that, I could easily, who knows how much you could turn 100, you could create that would be much more valuable than $100 million today. It doesn't go as far today as it would have back then with the credit environment that we had. So yeah, it's an interesting contemplation for sure.
Sure. And I never even thought about it that way. I should reframe it in some way. I never even thought about, like, you're going to know, like, the future. I was just saying, just maybe you don't know when the crashes and all come, but you still have like the knowledge and wisdom to develop that 20-story building. But now you can go back and be 19 or whatever.
Right.
But I see what you're saying, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And at my age, I'm less likely to take big risks. So I have to move a little slower, do things a little different.
Yeah.
You go back then when you have no kids, no family, you can do a lot of things that you can take a lot more risks. You can move a lot faster. I used to work 100 hours a week back before kids, and even when my kids were young. Now, I'm always on, but I take my weekends and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of little caveats you could throw into that, but the Bible will tell you wisdom is worth more than all the gold in the world, right? So there's a lot of truth in that.
For sure. Okay, and then finally, number 10. So what excites you, and what projects are you working on? I know you have the big goal of the 20-story at least development, but what juices you right now? What are you working on?
So a number of ground-up projects right now. I've got some hotel projects I'm working on and some opportunity zones, some ground-up multifamilies, and some big adaptive reuse projects. So, my goal this year is to get about 100 million in the development pipeline and start bringing that out of the ground this year, so I can complete around that over the next year or two. So I'm really excited about some of these opportunities with the opportunity zones that have come about this year. There's a lot of capital chasing those deals, and there's a lot of opportunities out there that are different and interesting, based on that structure. So it's going to be a lot of fun here the next couple of years, especially 2019. This is the year to deploy the capital to gain the most benefit from that new law with opportunity zones, and there's a lot of big projects that are taking advantage of it. So it's going to be a neat year to see what the impact of that new legislation has.
Yeah, for sure. That is like the buzzword, the hot topic, and people are taking action. I mean, it's still early on in the year, but I know they're forming conferences around that. I've had talks with. I have a friend doing a 300 plus unit development in an opportunity zone, and I understand it, and I understand why people are getting involved, and it's a great opportunity. So to be at the forefront of it is a plus. Huge.
Yeah, it's going to be a real interesting year.
Yeah, yes, for sure. Well, Greg, hey, I want to thank you for coming on and hanging 10 with me. I'll just close out the show again by saying thank you. I'm really glad we got to hang 10. And if you liked today's show, I haven't really done this much. I need to start being better at it. If you like today's show, you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, like, comment. If you're listening on the podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever that is. Also, leave us a rating, leave us a review, and please subscribe. So I hope you found today's information helpful. And whether you're here for the education or the entertainment, or you or someone you know is finding a difficult place to put their money to work for them, please help them by sharing this information. I don't have anything to sell, but I am on a mission, and I will continuously deliver quality, consultative, educational content on a routine basis. This is Dino, CEO of Edified Equity, signing off. Goodbye.